I wish that I had a member of faculty or staff that was acted as more of a mentor to me, because I definitely feel like I'm the only one motivating myself to succeed. I definitely feel like when it comes to my grades and when it comes to me as a student, I'm the only one who kind of knows about me. I don't know if like homeroom teachers are meant to act as mentors, or I'm not really sure what the purpose of homeroom is. But I think like if homeroom teachers acted as like if they like when I was a freshman, I thought that my homeroom teachers were my guy, like the person who's gonna kind of like help me out and be like hold me accountable to my like schoolwork. I just wish I had a relationship with one of my teachers or someone at this school, because I don't really feel like anyone's invested in me besides me.
I think that some counselors are more invested in their students than others, and I think that needs to be changed.
Okay, so adding on to what Sloan said about like how we don't have enough counselors, during like the senior counseling, whenever I went up there, I had to wait like a good 20 minutes before like they actually talked to me, and I had a friend who kept on being called back up there because they never got to her.
It's like when you're a senior and you're trying to get all your college applications submitted and stuff, and you've got a deadline on, say, November 15th, and you haven't met with your counselor to make sure they've submitted all your stuff and know everything, and it's November 13th, and like, the counselor may know that they're planning to meet with you like later that day, but you're like going crazy and you're emailing your counselor and you're like, why haven't you met with me yet? Everything's due tomorrow. And so that's kind of really stressful, and I think finding a better way to manage that would make this, like the whole college application process, a whole lot less stressful for some students who have early deadlines.
I just wish that meeting with counselors in general would be more accessible. Like you could meet with them earlier, more often. For example, when I was starting to apply to colleges, I want to go somewhere medical, and I was looking at the programs where you get accepted to medical school early. However, for a lot of these programs, you have to take like the chemistry SAT test, and I haven't taken AP Chem until like senior year. So I wish like a counselor, someone told me earlier that you should take these classes if this is what you want to do. And so, if I met with my counselor maybe like freshman or sophomore year to tell them like this is what I want to do in college and stuff, then maybe they could have given me better advice about which classes to take.
And I think it should be stressed that this is a problem, not just in the quality of the guidance counselor, but the quantity of the guidance counselors. Actually, it's when you have hundreds of students per guidance counselor, and you have to ask this guidance counselor for a recommendation for college, they aren't going to even know your name by your face, probably, and that's obviously a huge problem. If they can't correlate your name with your face, there's definitely a problem with this system, and that means we need more counselors. And obviously, funding is an issue, and that's probably the main reason why we don't have any more counselors. But obviously, we need to allocate money for the funding of more guidance counselors, because guidance counselors are very crucial to the future needs that we need to keep in mind as we go throughout high school, because they stick with us throughout high school. They're the ones that tell us what we need to be doing in order to prepare for a certain career or anything like that.
Well, not only do we not have enough counselors to accommodate our school size, but I don't think that all of the counselors are equally equipped to handle the problems that students have. Like what David said earlier, he's only met with his counselor 5 times in 4 years of high school. I didn't even meet my counselor until this year when we did the senior meeting. And like what you said, he didn't even know how to pronounce my name. He really didn't know who I was, and it just definitely felt like I as a person, I really don't matter. I'm just like one of the 2,300. I think it's important that counselors are equally equipped to talk to students, because really there's one counselor that I think everyone really tends to want to talk to, because they act like they care.
A lot of the seniors that I know have to pay hundreds of dollars for college counselors. on how to apply to colleges, because our colleges, our counselors that our government pays for don't know how to do that. They don't have the time for you. So even doesn't matter how much money you have to pay that money if you're busy, if you don't know what you're doing. My counselor here is just, she asked me, where are you applying? That's all she asked me, and she didn't really help me. She didn't tell me there's a scholarship deadline this date, you need to set up this meeting, she didn't tell me any of that. She just said, get to it. So.
I also feel like a counselor is someone that you should be able to go and talk to, and when you go to talk to your counselor and you get told that you're not allowed to talk to them because they're busy right now, I feel like that's totally not okay, and that needs to be fixed, because if you have a serious issue, you should have someone to talk to.
Not all teachers, but some teachers, they don't really have this personal connection with the students and don't really understand how most of the students' thought process works, and that really hinders their abilities to learn and understand the information given to them in the school. And we have a program called MSDC, and a lot of people in MSDC are a lot more paid attention to than, say, general students or even some advanced students. And I think that's very unfair for the students in the lower level classes who still want to try to move up.
And going off of what Akash said off of bias, there's a problem when as someone in MSTC, there's a problem when, you're talking to some teachers, there's a group of teachers in a room, and they're actively talking about how they genuinely prefer MSTC classes over general classes. In fact, they actually despise general classes. That's a huge problem. And I'm sure that they have good reason for this. There are obviously those certain students here and there that, obviously don't act the greatest, but that shouldn't be a reason that, they absolutely hate teaching, one kind of class, whereas, they really enjoy teaching one class. They should really try to, they should enjoy teaching all classes. That should be the goal of school, is to have, the students enjoying being taught and the teachers enjoying teaching.
Off what you said, I think that because they would rather teach this type of class than general, that hinders the way they teach in general classes, and I think that the students are not learning as they could if they taught the same way in there as they do in STC classes.
Those like the kids that need it most.
Yeah.
It's not just class types as well. I've actually had personal, kind of situations with my sister where she would come home and she would tell me about how in one of her classes, like pre-cal, her teacher would constantly ignore her and not really give a positive attitude towards her. And she gets straight A's, and she's done very well in that class, and she always pays attention and asks questions, but the teacher just doesn't like her personality, so doesn't really pay attention to her at all in that class, and she feels neglected, even a little bit depressed when it comes to that class, which not only hinders her ability to learn of that subject, but as a person, it really degrades her emotional status.
I completely understand that, because I had a teacher last year who I wasn't doing well in class, and I would constantly ask for help. And so she'd say, come in early in the morning, and I come in, she wouldn't be there.
About student-teacher relationships, I feel like as a soft-spoken person, I find it hard to form relationships with teachers, and I feel overshadowed by the really outgoing students, and it's really hard to make connections if you don't have that type of personality. And I think that's really a problem, since we, as seniors, we need the teacher recommendations for colleges, and with a big class size, it's hard to stand out and make connections.
I wouldn't say teachers have favorites, some do, some don't, but the kids who don't speak as much as others aren't as recognized as others, and they don't get paid as much attention, even though they may be making good grades.
stands out in my mind. I just remember being forced to read books and then not even like enjoying them because they were so grinded down into like, I guess like mathematical equations. What's the certain things about this book instead of like exploring it yourself. That's what reading's all about, right? But that's not how it was perceived by freshman and sophomore classes.
Yeah, I don't think it's the teacher's fault in those classes. I just think it's the way it's structured. It's impossible to cater to everyone's needs. So it's, I mean, you can't just give someone who's finished in 15 minutes more work because they're not like, they're gonna be like, why do I have to do this and no one else has to? But if you're in a classroom where everyone has to do that extra work, they're like, okay, well, that's fair, we have to do more work because everyone in the class is done. Like, so it's, I feel like it needs to be restructured in a way to better prepare you for taking like an AP class because it's so hard for those freshman and sophomore English teachers to be able to prepare you for an AP class the next year and then prepare a different student in the class for just maybe an advanced level the next year. So
I remember there was a student in my advanced class who didn't even know he was taking an advanced class. He thought it was general English. He was just like, okay, that's great.
In like my entire like 3 years of taking advanced English, I only had one assignment that stuck out to me. And that was my research paper that I did in the last year, where I got to choose my topic. And my topic ended up being the Holy Grail, which I've been obsessed with Arthurian legends since I was 10 years old. And by like being able to like, I put more effort into that project than I ever had in the past years before because I was able to choose something that I actually wanted to invest my time in.
And that seems almost more effective because we actually get to choose, not like after dark.
And